then I might swerve, ayy. Double off deuce, ayy. That just might work, ayy. When I pull up on you, then I might swerve, ayy. Double off deuce, ayy. That just might work, ayy. That just might work.
Welcome back to another episode of the Michel Matters podcast. I'm Jocks Michel.
And I'm Jackie Michel.
Hey, welcome back.
Hi, guys.
Oh, man, I feel like every time it's like relearning how to ride a bike. Every time we start doing this again.
Relearning?
Yeah, so anyway, we're back again, episode 91.
Woo, yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah.
I really feel like people doubting us that we're not going to make it to 100 this year.
We're going to show y'all.
You know who you are.
Yeah.
But,
and
yeah.
I feel like that's their weird way of encouraging us to do it.
I appreciate it a little bit.
Because we know their personality, but it's like, we're going to do this. Like, we're going to prove you wrong. It's fine.
So, 100 episodes soon come.
Yes.
But yeah, so today, episode 91.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get right to it.
Man, so I wanted to talk about this topic in particular just because we live in a fallen world, right? Can't really say anything without starting with that. But recently, especially, there were two major news headlines. Two major headlines of young women who, whose bodies have been found dead because they were just, in situations where... Okay, so I guess how I want to bring this up is one woman in particular, she's a young woman in particular, was actually in Florida. They both were. Wow, that's crazy. Florida's crazy. Okay. So one was in Orlando. And what was interesting to me about that story is that the person who, I don't think they said outright that he did it, but we all know that he did it.
Yeah.
Is that people knew that she was being stalked.
Mm-hmm.
And so my thing is, like, why didn't anybody say anything? If they knew, like, before she went missing all of a sudden. And it just got me to thinking, like, even when I hear about people in bad relationships or whatever, it's like, what? Like, who is in their community? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, who is their community? Who can they go to that they trust? And I know that there's partly that there might be shame or maybe they're afraid or whatever, but it's like, why are there not more people that people can go to, or that they feel safe? So it's all about, like, what does it mean to be a neighbor is basically what I'm getting at and what I wanted to talk about today. Yeah.
So I wanted, like, when you brought it up to me, the first thing that came to my mind was, okay, there is just that word in particular, neighbor. There's a very, there's a Christian perspective that we can pull from that when you start talking about, how are we as neighbors? And we can go straight to when we get the 2 new commandments from Jesus. And he says, the first is to love your God, and the second is to love your neighbor as yourself. And I feel like a lot of times when we say that verse or we talk about that portion of scripture, we pay it more lip service than anything.
Right.
And I'm not saying that, like, I'm holier than thou. Like, I feel like communally, like, as a society of believers, that's kind of, we tend to just, we say it, we know, like, oh, okay, love your neighbor as yourself. But I feel like a lot of it has turned into love the neighbors that you like as yourself.
Yeah.
And
that's good.
but yeah, so it's something that I've started to, like, reconsider once COVID started, because there was a lot of, like, I don't know, I had a lot of downtime, and I feel like especially with all the things that were going on when it came to police shootings, because it was a George Floyd incident, Ahmaud Arbery. A lot of the conversation was around like, man, people really starting to open their eyes to what was going on to Black people.
Right.
And I think as a community, Black people wanted to be loved like other communities seem to love themselves, right?
Yeah.
But we wanted to be included in that neighborhood. And it made me just like really start to look into like, what does that mean to love your neighbor? And it really is reaching across the aisles to people that we forget about, to people that we don't like, we don't agree with all the time. And, you know, I think for a lot of different groups of people, it has turned into too much of just liking the people that we agree with or just loving the neighbors that sit next to us at church.
Correct.
And when you brought it up, I thought of how, yeah, like there are women out here who are in danger. And I don't know if it's more so like they don't have anyone to go to or they don't know where to go.
Yeah.
And as a man, for me, like I would hope if you, my sister, you know, my niece, any of the women in my life, and I'll get to the men part of this afterwards, but like any of the women in my life would feel comfortable enough to know that they can come to me if there was a situation like that where somebody's stalking them or somebody, you know, they're having any type of issue with another man.
Right. Or woman.
Or woman. But it's so after we understand like, okay, and we come to terms with the fact that, you know, everyone is our neighbor.
Right.
It's how do we love our neighbors? Like how do we, cause that call is a call for Christians, right? But how do they know where to find us? Like, how do people know where to go to when they have an issue? Mm-hmm. Because if you're not a Christian, you don't know that. Like, you don't know that there are people who are called to love you, you know, in that way.
Right.
So that was like where my mind went first when you started bringing this up. But there's so many like different tentacles and different ways we could go with the conversation. Yeah.
Because you said something interesting. You were saying like you would hope that the women in your life know, you know, to come to you, as like a safe space or whatever. Mm-hmm. I think there's also kind of like, because you named 3 of the closest women to you just now, but I think there's also like that. But right, but I think there's that disconnect. With some people where they're like, oh, well, I'm not his sister, so I can't go to him. Or, you know, because there's, of course, people closest to you are going to come to you. You hope.
Yeah.
You hope. But then it's kind of like, oh, yeah, that friend that I had in high school, like, can they come to you? Like, do they know, like, that person is safe? Like, I could reach out or whatever. And of course, proximity is a part of that. But I think that is one of those things where some people just may not know if they fit in that circle for other people.
Yeah.
Because even the girl that I mentioned earlier, I want to say her cousin went to the same college as her in Orlando. And, you know, I was following the story on Instagram as much as I could. And I guess she posted pictures and she was just like, I just feel like I failed her. But she is also like a young girl navigating life and like, you know, so yeah, there are definitely times when, where even like I'm on the street and this, I came from Atlanta recently and there were a couple times where I was like, what is going on over there? Like, but I'm also, you know, self-preservation, I guess you could call it. I don't know what you want to call it. But a part of me is like, nah, that's not my business. Like, And there is wisdom in that because it is not my business.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like if I really feel like someone's in danger or something, like I should speak up.
Yeah, for sure.
So sometimes it's not even proximity. I say all that to say.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but I do think something that does need to be developed more is our community, right? So like for me, I may be with someone, like I have friends that are women, and so just because I hang with you a lot, maybe it's not clear, right? Like not everyone knows. So there is also sometimes that barrier sometimes with men and women where guys don't always seem to be the best friends to women. Like there's always thing, you know, I even joke, or I think maybe a little serious, but like that men and women aren't good friends. Like we can't be good friends because of whatever the sexual components.
Yeah,
and
we've talked about that.
People don't know where to draw lines or how to draw lines.
Right.
But I do think if that really is your friend, and just as a guy in general, it should be like, you should be able to make that clear, I guess. And like, you know, random checkups or but something that's very like, what's the word? Not sexual. I can't think.
Yeah. As a friend.
Yeah. Man, I can't think of the word right now. But
I don't know.
Starts with a P.
Platonic?
Platonic. There we go. Very platonic, right? Yeah. To like kind of let the guard down a little bit in that sense. Because that's it to me, it's sad to think that there are women who have men in their life, but they don't know where to go or don't maybe feel comfortable like speaking to them about certain things.
Right. And men as well. Yeah.
But I think that's also comes from all of us like making ourselves open in that way. Not living in our own little microcosms like, you know, I hang out with these 3 people and this is where I stay and that's it. Like I'm not open to other people. Because there is, like you said, a lot of self-preservation in all of us. But at the same time, if we are to love our neighbors, that it has to be more than that. Yeah. And also I'll just put it out there, and I've been dying to use like some type of reference. So I watched Squid Game recently, right? So if you haven't watched it, maybe you could fast forward a little bit. But the concept is, well, I don't want to get too much into the concept, but part of the story is to win the games. At times, people grouped up into teams. Mm-hmm. But even amongst the teams, there was a lot of self-preservation, right? Where people would do certain things to protect themselves or just stay themselves. And I wonder, right? Like, could I have won the Squid Game? Do I have enough of that in me, right, to win the Squid Game? And I don't think the goal should ever be to win the Squid Game, because what it takes to win sometimes isn't worth it, right? And you gotta watch it, because I don't want to give it away, but
I haven't even watched all of it.
Yeah, you haven't watched all of it, but I say all that to say this. Sometimes to win, you do have to team up. Like you do have to expand your community, right, to win and to protect each other. Sometimes that's what it takes. We can't go through this world alone. Yeah. And loving our neighbors is a way to build that community.
But I think in regards to Squid Game, is there only one winner? Or is a team can win?
So
don't give the ending. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, the goal is to win whatever amount of money. Yeah. Can that money be split?
They believe so.
Okay.
It's a possibility.
I'm just saying that because I know.
Because like, I want to give you the answer.
There is no win to life.
Correct.
You know? So It's like, you don't have to, you should be able to be vulnerable with exercising wisdom with others and team up in community, because no one is going to be the winner at life. We all die. Like, that's the end of the game, quote unquote. So,
yeah, there's so many like real world parallels, but I
don't know the show.
I don't want to get in. Yeah, I don't want to go too much into.
But
it.
I just wanted to relate it back to real life.
Yeah, I just wanted to squeeze in Squid Game into the podcast.
Of course, you did.
But I feel like to like really go more in depth on it, I gotta wait a couple weeks, let some more people watch the show.
Okay.
Before I go all in on Squid Game.
So what about like physical neighbors, right?
Okay.
Do you know our neighbors? Our current neighbors.
Our current neighbors.
Yeah. Like a literal.
All right. So
you live next to people.
So I think the operative was like, do I know them? No, I don't know them.
That's good.
Have I seen them around? Like,
do
I head nod real quick? You know, as we're walking past each other, or you know, putting out the garbage cans.
Right.
Yeah. I got that far, but I wouldn't go as far to say like my neighbors around my house know me. Not like when I was growing up. Like as a kid growing up, I knew all my neighbors. And you know, it's different too when you're kids because I play with the kids in my neighborhood. We ended up getting to know people.
No.
And
I'll get into it, but we just have different life experiences.
Yeah, we do. And then also like growing up, nothing brought the neighborhood together more than a hurricane and like life after hurricanes, where we would do it all. Like, you know, oh, you need to borrow some power, like for your generator, or like from our generator. You need gas. Yeah. All this stuff. Like it was. So I did eventually get to learn all my neighbors over time. But as an adult, nah, I'm not that friendly. Which is, that's really interesting when we're talking about being a neighbor, right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know our neighbors the way that you define know. But I have had conversations. Do I invite them places or to my house? No. Do I? And I feel like, I guess my heart is developing in that area because I'm seeing that there's a shift in our neighborhood too.
Yeah, definitely.
And so a lot of people who have lived here for decades are starting to leave, kind of. There's still a lot of them, but now we're getting like new people and people our age and in our same, like, you know, there's a married couple that just moved in.
Yeah. Some of the life stages.
Right. And so I'm just like, like literally, like they're right next door.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, you know, when you talk about building community, like you need those things. So yeah. Whatever. I mean, I feel like we probably talked about this before. When we first moved here, we got robbed. Like somebody broke into our house. Yeah. It happened in the middle of the day.
I don't know if we talked about this actually.
Maybe not. Whatever. Yeah. It happened in the middle of the day. And you would expect somebody saw something, right? But we had just moved here. We didn't have any cachet in the neighborhood. I've never let anybody borrow like a tool yet or something like, you know, we ain't baked cookies for nobody. You know, nobody even really knew who we were.
Yeah, it was very early.
For them to even notice something different happening at our house. Like, you know, they probably thought it was movers or whatever. They may not have known what was going on. Right. But that's because we didn't make ourselves known to our community.
Correct.
And now, like, thinking like, okay, at least I know the neighbors around. They've seen us enough to know if somebody's walking in and out of my house, that's not me. That, okay, something may be going on there.
Yeah. And I will say it's like the direct neighbors that I feel like I talk to. Yeah. So to the left, to the right, and then the three to the front. Yes. Those are the ones that I focus on. But I'm like, man, even if I just start right there, like... Yeah. And granted, it was in the middle of the day. We were at work. People were probably at work. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. Don't get me started.
We're not going to go there. Yes.
Just don't stop.
Because you already know.
Just roll right past that.
But I'm
opening up old wounds.
But I'm just saying, it's like, man, when you actually talk to people. And like, I see how like across the street, those two homes that they are always talking.
Yeah.
Like one of them has been here since probably the 80s or something. And then the other one, I don't know, but they've been here for a long time. And I always see them like just talking by their garbage can. I don't know if they share garbage cans sometimes. I don't like, I'm like, yo, like y'all really be out here talking to each other. And so I just try to, and I think, I don't know if it's just like a Florida thing. For the most part, we don't hang out front. No. Like, it's not like in New York where you're always, you know, you ain't got nowhere else to go.
We have backyards.
Right. So we're in the yard, we're in the pool, whatever. But if I do, you know, I randomly take the trash out. That's your thing. But if I am out there cleaning or watering plants or whatever, and I see someone, I'm going to try to get their attention. Like, I made sure, like, when the new neighbors moved in, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm going to say something like, this is my name. Okay, I see that, you know, you're moving things in. Like, I'll keep an eye out for you. Like, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then even, like, I was leaving the house early one morning. I don't know why. And I don't know if she was, like, going to her first day of work. She just looked very official. And then like her husband was taking a picture of her. And I was just like, oh, this is cute. Like just getting to see, you know, how other people interact too. Because then, you know, what if things happen all the time and I don't want it to be like a news station comes and it's like, oh yeah, something happened on your block to your neighbor. And I'm just like, oh, I didn't even know she was married. Yeah. I didn't even know, like, whatever. Like, just to be intentional is what I'm getting at. And it takes a lot of effort. It's just so much easier to worry about self.
Yeah.
Than to like care about like, oh, I wonder, maybe she did start a new job or maybe like, then I can have like conversations, you know?
Yeah.
Not to be like a weird stalker or whatever.
No, but part of beginning to love your neighbor is starting with caring, right? And too often, like I said, lip service. We really don't care. Like, but to be Christian, to be a neighbor, you have to care. Like, you got to drop some of that, whatever. Like, I don't know. It's not ego. It's just a tendency to only care inward or care about your small, close knit friend group. Yeah. But to really like live that out, we have to start caring about the people that we, you know, maybe don't know or that are forgotten about or that get left out.
So it's interesting that when you were growing up, you were more involved with your neighbors. And now you're kind of like pulled back. But me, I wasn't really involved with neighbors. I mean, okay. So I was kind of like the only kid on my street. I was the only kid on my street. Yeah. And I didn't know until like years later, probably like middle school, that one of my friends had like a play cousin who lived like 3 blocks away from me. And so we started getting close, but she went to this rich school that all the kids went to and I didn't. So it was just completely 2 different worlds. And so I came from like a mainly white neighborhood. I'm talking about like literally moved from Europe, white neighborhood, where my house and literally the house right next door to the right were the only Black homes on the street. And then I think behind us, there was like a mixed family. But other than that, it was like, who am I gonna play with it or whatever? And what I will say is that my mom did a very good job. Like, she knew everybody. She knows everybody still. Yeah. So although I didn't like hang out at their homes because that would be weird to just go to some old person's house, I knew who they were. And literally like the Black woman next door, we would be like, oh, you don't have power? Okay, well, we have this grill that has the burner and we're making spaghetti, like, come over. And so that was cool for me to see because I want to somehow do that in my life.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you this question, although I know the answer.
Okay.
Because I know a lot of Christians are doing this.
Okay.
Communal living, co-housing, where you literally live in one house with others and share.
Explain that.
Yeah. So communal living, I want to say like that Pastor Chan. I don't remember his name.
Okay.
But he talks about it too. And so some people will live in a home or like various homes on a street, but they share the kitchen, they share the cooking responsibilities, the cleaning. You know, if somebody wants a date night, they watch the kids, communal living. Would you ever do something like that? Because I feel like that's loving your neighbor on another level.
Yeah, so I can do communal living, but not like
not in the same
home. Yeah, not in the same under the same roof.
No, some people are under the same roof.
Yeah, I'm telling you what I can do.
Okay.
I'm with you. Like I like the concept where you're saying it's a network of people that you use, which is what church should be. But yeah, so having like that network of people, and preferably that close together where it's like I just leave my kids at your house, or you need to hang a bookshelf at your house, I guess I'll come by.
Right.
Help you guys do TV? It. Can I do that? Yeah, I could probably do that. Am I living under a roof with other people? Nah, probably not. Like, it's just not happening. That's just me. I like my space.
Yeah.
Would I open my doors to people like living with us? Not there yet, right? I know God's still working on me, right?
Is it because you haven't come across that person though? And I'm not saying it because I'm completely there yet either. I'm just saying things to think about. Like if somebody did need a room, if somebody did join church and, a college student or whatever, a single mom.
And I don't know them like that?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm just saying we have a room. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I hear you.
Right. Or a kid on your team or something.
Yeah, I think in 2021, would I jump out the window and be like, yeah, I'll let somebody just stay at my house? Probably not. Just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Would it take special circumstances? Probably.
Right.
For me to let someone stay at my house? Yeah, like, I'd probably give you money before I let you stay at my house.
Okay.
And we can, like, work things out, I'm just talking about myself.
I hear you. I do.
And specifically, people are, I don't know.
People are gonna people.
Yeah, something in the water. I don't know what it is.
But listen, so then how do we go about loving neighbor? Because I feel like it takes a certain amount of trust, right? To love someone. No? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah.
Because people are gonna people regardless, but that doesn't mean we're not called to love them.
Okay, so...
And to stand up for them.
Okay, so when we start talking about... Once again, you need a lot more context than just, would you let somebody stay at your house? Like,
yes.
What are the circumstances, right? Like...
Wisdom.
Is this person, like, I would need to know more. That's what I'm saying. I would need to have the whole layout of the situation before I just, yes, this person could stay at my house.
Yeah.
But when you talk about, like, helping people, like, loving someone doesn't only mean you let them stay at your house.
No,
you know
right.
What I mean? Right. Like, could I love them in other ways? Could I try to help them? Whatever it is the situation is, maybe find the right help. All that stuff, yeah. If that's what needs to be done, yes. Opening my doors where I lay my head where my wife sleeps. Am I that open yet? No, I don't. It depends on what's going on. Depends on who it is, all that. But am I open to helping people? Yeah, I think I said yes. Yes, I'm open to helping people. But what about you? I kept asking you any questions.
I know. No, trust me. Like, I think,
Because I think I'm more helpful to you.
Wow.
I do.
Maybe monetarily.
More than that. But yeah, keep going.
Mm-hmm. Give me an example. Since you broadcasting it, how helpful you are.
I didn't broadcast it. I just said I think. Is that broadcasting? I guess we are on a podcast. But,
yeah.
I just feel like I be, on that. Maybe it is monetarily, but...
Yes. And I also feel like my
heart be in the right place, though.
I feel like my discernment be in the right place. And so that's why the power of a praying wife is important. But we're not going to go there.
Yeah, we're not.
Yeah. So yeah. So you do have a very serving heart. But I think paired with my discernment is very impactful. Is that safe?
That's safe.
Okay.
That's safe. Jackie be saying no a lot, so
because
she calls it discernment.
Listen,
she calls it discernment.
So yeah, I feel like I have a heart to do it. Mm-hmm. But I also know this world is crazy. Yeah. That's it. Like, this world is crazy, and you don't know. It depends. Like, if it's like a distant family member or something that like I've known before, but maybe like the last year we didn't really connect like that. Like, it would be a little easier to decide. If it's a stranger, it's like, I don't think that would happen. Yeah. But yeah, like if it's like a distant cousin or something, I would do it. I would. Yeah. And there are some family members that I'd be like, because I don't trust you.
That's also how I grew up. Like at my house.
You're right.
There was plenty of times.
Why are you so like not the person you grew up as?
Because I grew up under parents. My parents set the tone for the household. Like when it came to like knowing the grown-ups in my neighborhood, it was because of my parents. But I knew the kids because we were kids. Like, we all went to school together. Yeah. Or we all played. Or, like, you play in the backyard with one kid. Like, oh, I know so-and-so. Then he brings him the next time. And that's kind of how that went.
Now, you don't have a room no more.
But at the same time, like, when you start talking about, being open in that communal living and all that, that was my house growing up. Yeah. Plenty of times. It really was. I had to give up my bedroom to whoever it was. And multiple times, like, people staying with us for months at a time, some over a year. Like, that was constantly the way we did it. Because, just coming up as immigrants, that's kind of what you do. You help those people who just get here or people who fall on hard times.
That's my grandma. To this day.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that is a thing for just how I grew up. Yeah. So, am I always as open? Because my mom never let like randos stay at our house. Right. It would be like people
friends from Haiti back in the day.
So this is what I'm saying. When it comes down to the circumstances, that's the circumstance that if one of my family members or a family friend that we know is down on hard times, I think I'm way more open to that. Yeah. But when you said the way you phrased it originally, you kind of were saying like, would you let a random person come stay at your house? And it's like, no. Like, that's not happening.
No. Yeah. That's just not wise. But
yeah. There was one thing I did want to add before we kind of wrap this up. Yeah. I originally, when we started talking about this conversation, I was talking about it from a man's perspective. Being able to show my love for my female counterparts. So in our Bible study that we've been doing at church, we've dealt with a lot of, so it's a men's Bible study. And we talk about communion a lot, fellowship a lot of men. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I feel like has been a recurring theme amongst the men in the group is that sometimes it's hard to love on our whatever, our Christian brothers or just brothers in general, because I feel like a lot of guys aren't open to love. Like they kind of shut themselves off or wall themselves off from people, or, you know, how can you help somebody when every time you ask them how are they say they're good?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
there's
guys
no
tend to do that a lot, right? So it's hard to love people who don't open up in that way to for you to get to know them enough to do that. And that's been like one of the things that I've tried to like break down in my friend groups is, like, you know, being more honest about like, okay, how are you? Like, not good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like asking people like, oh, you know, how are you? And they say you good. And like, nah, for real. Like, how are you?
But sometimes they really just be good.
Yeah, but that's also a reflex response.
Right. So you're trying to do the whole I am athlete, like on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah, it's just dig a little more. Like, nah, for real. Like, how are you? And you'll be surprised at how much...
What are your highs and lows?
You'd be surprised, though, how much people are willing to share once they know it's a safe space. A lot of times, the reason why we don't open up to certain people or we don't reach out to certain people is because we kind of just assume that people don't care. Or, like, as a guy, a lot of times you're taught, like, you know, like, it's your problem, deal with it. Or, you know, nobody cares about your problems, figure it out type stuff. So, I think as brothers or just men in general, being able to, like, recognize... So on your part, being able to recognize your own, like, faults. Like, I know that about myself at times where I won't be honest with people. And it's like, how can somebody help you? Like, how could someone help someone who's not telling them their problems? Like, you know, you
had to break him down.
What?
Yeah, I had to break you down to be more vulnerable.
I guess.
Took years, you know?
But I think, it's just done over time. Like, it's not a weakness to ask for help or to lean on other people. And I think it's helped me become a better neighbor, realizing that in myself. Whereas, like, now that I know that I do that, like, now that I really, like, can recognize that I be lying to people a lot, I recognize that people lie to me a lot. Yeah. And it's like, okay, you could tell sometimes when, like, nah, just dig a little bit. And when you dig, it depends on who you are, but people kind of could tell, like, okay, they're not just being nosy. They really want to know. They
care.
And it's funny you said that, right? So, like, there's a saying in coaching, like your kids or players don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? And I think it's the same with other people. I don't think people will open up to you until they know how much you care. Because nobody wants to just, like, unload on people unwilling. Because everyone's had that.
Some people do.
But, like, those people you ask, like, yo, hey, what's good? And they, like, really tell you. And it's like, oh, I wasn't asking for all that.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. If you do ask that, be prepared that you might get the truth.
That's why I asked the second time now. Right. So, like, if I just ask you that one time, it's just a conversational piece. Yeah. Like, you know, but if I'm like, nah, but for real, how are you? Yeah. Like, you know, in a one-on-one setting, because I'm not going to do that in public or whatever. Right. Like, nah, it's, okay, that's the trigger that, okay, we're having a moment here. Like, we're trying to have a moment.
We're connecting.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think as men, we need more of those spaces. And also, you know, in the same way, be able to be that for other people. And I think that would be really helpful. Yeah. In showing people that we care. And in essence, being able to love our neighbors.
All right. Well, you guys let us know how you have been loving your neighbors or how neighbors have been loving you. You know, are you doing that well? Because I feel like I need to do better. So,
agreed.
Yeah, so let's share. Let's do this whole communal living by sharing.
Yeah,
with each
build
other.
our networks.
Build our network. Yeah. All right. So as you know, you can like and subscribe on YouTube. You can share this. You can leave us a review, and DM us. And yeah, I think that's it, right?
It is.
Okay.
Another episode in the books.
Yes.
All right. See you.
Bye.
When I pull up on you, then I might swear, ayy. Double off deuce, ayy. That you might work, ayy. When I pull up on you, then I might swear, ayy. Double off deuce, ayy. That you might work, ayy. That you might work. That you might work.